Ladies and gentlemen, today on the Driveway Engineer, in a very long video, I'm going to show you step by step how to take a $300 LS engine, an $87 harness, free software, a $50 dongle, and make your engine run on a stand so it's ready to swap into your vehicle for you. So stay tuned, it's going to be a long one. This is a crank sensor, and this drops down to the starter with the hot wire from the battery. This is a O2 sensor. This leg is injectors for one bank, and it doesn't have multi-tech. It's got EV6 connectors, so that's not right. I mean, either have to switch injectors or use adapters, which I have inside. This is a crank sensor. It is the most important thing on the engine, next to the grounds. And it's located right here behind the starter. I take the starter off to do this because I have difficulty getting my hands in there. This is an oil pressure sensor. You don't have to do anything with it. These AC sensors you don't have to do anything with. I'm just kind of walking around here. Up here, this is a evap purge solenoid. You don't have to do anything with it. Unhook it, leave it. Right here is your engine coolant temp sensor. It's got to be hooked up. That's on one of the injector legs. Down here is the factory ground. You see I hooked the factory cable back up to it because I'm probably going to use it. Up here we got our alternator plug. On the side, idle air control. Coil packs. I got mine full of water. That'll help. They plug in bundles. Each individual injector. Click, click, click. This is your oil pressure sensor. You don't have to do anything with it or use it. This is your cam position sensor, very important, and easily mixed up with the crank sensor. O2 sensor, I got one plug, I don't have the other. Yeehaw. Don't really need them to run. Alright, so I lost the audio for my universal patcher section, which is even worse because I struggled forever and I thought I'll just edit it later. So, you know, you go online, you search for universal patcher, you download it. It comes with PCM Hammer in it, and it wasn't opening for me. It kept popping up a message. You see that prompt where I went into the folder and I opened PCM Hammer and I said Windows stop me. I clicked more info. I allowed it to run, and then I'm able to open Universal Patcher, go to read write PCM, and it doesn't say operation canceled by user. It lets me set up my device. This is normal PCM Hammer. Select your port, whatever you're using. I'm using an OBD Link MX. So I set that up, and then you just hit OK, and you're pretty much done at that point. You're ready to read the PCM. So you can see there, we hit read properties, it pulled up the VIN, it pulled up the OS ID, pulled up the calibration, everything that you need to know. I can see that it's my stock VIN by the 8th letter being a T, and it's a 5.3, and I have a 5.3. I guess you never know if you have a 5.3, but anyway, go to the top, hit tools, click read entire PCM, and it's going to prompt you to save it. I go ahead and make another folder for my Forerunner for YouTube, and then I just call it whatever, Forerunner YouTube, or I don't remember what I called it, but yep, that's what I called it. And then that'll be your stock file that you can just save out and name it whatever you want. I'm going to name mine stock file. Hit save. It prompts you, just normal PCM Hammer stuff, prompts you has a PCM been hour for 10 seconds. Mine have been on for 10 hours. Screwing around. it pulls all the information, it starts doing this, and it does a countdown. It takes like 7 or 8 minutes. It's not super fast, so we'll skip ahead for that. So 10 minutes later, you're done. It says, double checks itself, double checks its work, saves your file out. And at that point, you're ready to go over to the Universal Patcher and open up your stock bin file so that you can make your changes. You see everything. It took 10 minutes and 37 seconds. So you go up to the top, you hit File, you hit Open Bin, navigate to the folder that you made or wherever you put it, open up your stock bin. It pulls everything in. It's very Tuner Pro-esque, but it's not quite the same. At this point, all you have to do if you just want it to run is disable the VATs. So I kind of fumbled around in here for a few minutes. There's the different options at the top where there's like the hamburger and the chart and the pie chart and the folders are different ways of displaying different information, and there's literally everything's in there, including a lot of stuff you probably don't want to mess with. But if you go all the way down to the bottom on this folder structure and you hit that little bonus thing that doesn't say anything, and then you go into, I think I screwed around for a minute, but it's vehicle systems. There we go. And theft. And that VTD configuration, the third one down, is what Universal Patcher is calling VATs. And HP Tuners calls it VATs. I think GM calls it pass lock. I've had like actual dealer techs who don't know how to do this stuff. It's called pass lock. I don't care. You see, you hit the drop down, change it to none. And then a neat thing about Universal Patcher is if you try to navigate away, it'll say apply modification like that. And it'll do it. So you can go through a little bit more. I think I go up to like the engine diagnostics tab just up there. Yep. And then there's your ETC, which is your engine trouble codes. Turns out that wasn't what I wanted. See, that everybody has like different terms for the same things. So that's not what I was looking for. I don't remember where I found it now. I know I found it. So the other thing, what I'm talking about, I just start looking through these different displays to see what's in there. Back to the folder, over to the hamburger, up to the chart. I don't think that's it. I think that these are actual tables or things you can turn on and off. A lot of stuff that you probably don't want to mess with, or at least want to mess with in a controlled fashion. But it's in one of these other menus up here. I'm going to dink around for a while longer. There we go. So it's in the check mark in the EIOBINGO. And you see down there the 2D DTC enable. So in the trouble codes, it's like P131 or so, 140. P140 on, there's a bunch of like O2, everything that says sensor 2 for O2s you can set to, in this drop down, it's like number 3, not reported. So you go through, you set all these to number 3. That'll keep your check engine light off if you actually have it hooked up. And if you have a check engine light, sometimes it won't do certain things for you. But to run it on the stand, you don't have to do this. But if you already have your engine in a car, then this is what you'd want to do. Because you do want to kind of sort out the differences. If you have an actual, you don't want to ignore your check engine light because you're like, oh, that's just for my rear O2s, when really it's like, no, your knock count's through the roof or whatever. So you go through, you set all these to not reported, and I'm going to put you guys on pause. I'm going to jump ahead to show you the actual Universal Patcher function where I did the transmission calibration. So jumping ahead, I went ahead and I grabbed an O2 bin that I felt like would have a 4L80 transmission calibration, which was this Chevy Express van. And I went ahead and went with that because I thought, man, like, let's make it as difficult as possible for the Universal Patcher. Let's see how good it is, because it's my understanding this is what it's supposed to do. You don't have to screw with HDFs and bins. You don't have to mix and match. You just find what you want and segment swap your way to success. So up at the top, utilities, segment swap, and then you have to go to your, see, I didn't download it, it failed. So in your, there we go. There's my segment I want to swap, and I'm looking for, I want to extract, it looks like, see, I have the OS segment, and that's not what I want. I want the trans calibration and the trans diagnostic to switch from a 4L60 to a 4L80. And be careful with this stuff, because you can screw yourself up. So I applied that modification, and you see in the notes that it said applying segment 2004 Express van, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to do the trans diagnostic. I'm going to apply that one. Down in the notes, same thing. Oh, you got to select your file again. Select to apply to a swap. And then it says down in the notes again, 2000 Chevy Express. Hit OK. I spent a little time thinking around trying to figure this out, figure out if it took it or not. So I'm going to jump you ahead, because I did finally figure out how to read it in PCM Hammer. So we'll just jump ahead a minute here. So right here I made a pretty fatal error. I went to the top, I hit file, and I was trying still to figure out if my transmission segment swap had taken, and I decided what I should do is write it to PCM Hammer, and then I would be able to read it. I realized right about here that I hadn't saved it. So, I already saved over it, I guess, at that point. So I accidentally saved over my stock bin file. That's the fatal error I made. Then I wrote to the PCM. There's not much I can do about it. It's gone. Well, I guess I could have read it again. I didn't do that. So I'm going to jump ahead again to when the bin file is written, and we'll be able to verify that the PCM took its tune. So at this point I was trying to figure out if I knew that my tune had taken, and I checked my DTCs and saw, I wrote it to the PCM, and then I read it again, and I put it back in Universal Patcher to double check it. I can see that my check engine lights that I turned off were still on there. So that's, a good sign. I was trying to figure out how to know that the transmission code had actually taken, that it had written a 4L80E tune to it, and it was kind of moot. I was about to give it up. Because it doesn't matter. Like, if the VATS is off and the mill's off, like, I'm not gonna have a transmission for 6 months. But so yeah, I'm going through here. I'm reading the different stuff. There's other custom things you can do, apparently, like lean cruise. You can, I'm not really sure what these are. I didn't get too into them at the time. But when I click this information tab, that's kind of what gave me, there's my transmission calibration, there's my transmission diagnostic. And those numbers match up with what the Express Van 4L80 were. So that's how I know that my tune took. That, and I'm talking to you from the future where I've already started this thing. So I'm going to cut out of this tuning section, and we'll go back to wiring and fun stuff. Alright, so we're all hooked up, we're ready to crank, and I'm doing some troubleshooting, and I want to share with you guys the mistake that I made. Even though I said multiple times you can't mix up the sensors, I did mix up the sensors, and I mixed up the manifold absolute pressure sensor plug with my crank sensor. And the crank sensor, this is it. These are the colors, light green, yellow, blue. That should be on behind the starter and not up here. So I gotta fix that. and I'm gonna fix that now. I diagnosed that with my multimeter and really just watching on my phone for a RPM signal. I just used Torque Pro. Used Torque Pro and watched for the RPMs, and there was no signal, so it was never gonna spark. Pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna correct that and I'll bring you guys right back. So we have our harness installed. I'll run over this real quick. We have our PCM that we just did for free in the other video. So again, really not too much to worry about up here. A single ground, the rest of that stuff you can ignore to get it running. What you have to do is hook up you'll hook your battery cable up here, and you'll hook your purple wire. If you're swapping a Chevy, it's always a purple wire to trigger the starter. You hook that up there. Oil level sensor, ignore it. Behind the starter is the crank position sensor. It's the only one that you can mix up. It's black, and this is the manifold absolute pressure sensor, and it's gray. This one goes on top, the black one goes behind the starter. Coil packs plug in as a group. It's just a single plug. You're gonna have to adapt this harness to multi-tech injectors, so those kind of, you don't need to be intimidated. It kind of goes in the order that it goes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your coil harness will kind of lay where it goes. You can rearrange this as you go. Again, your starter wires, hot wires for the harness, your crank sensor. We can tuck this down here. Moving around the back. This is your cam sensor. Again, it's gray, unlike the black one. This is an oil pressure sensor. You don't have to do anything with it. Sticking out here is your knock sensors. People always ask how to delete them, but you can hook them up if you want to. No reason not to. You got a ground right here. We keep moving around. It's the main plug. O2 sensor drops down, and there's a whole drop for the transmission that drops down. And it's the same thing on this side. Injector, injector, coil pack, injector, injector. And then sticking off the front of the harness, we have the TPS and idle air control, which go right here and right here. You can't mix them up. And then you drop down to here, to your coolant temp sensor. So from there, all you have to do is hook up a pair of battery cables and a starter trigger wire. For me, I'm not going to use any of this front dress, but I am going to start it up with it on there because it's not hurting anything right now. But for me, in the 4Runner, front space, like length, is a premium. So I really, really, really want every fraction of an inch I can get here. So I'm going to go to a car F-body style. Otherwise, like, this configuration would work. I just really want those pulleys back so I can have all the space to the radiator I need. And I'm going to show you this. I broke my manifold absolute pressure sensor off, so I'm going to need to pull the intake to get that out of there. And I'm going to do that right now. I'll put you guys up on a stand and let you watch in a time lapse, and I'll be right back when that's done. So again, the manifold absolute pressure sensor tip is in that intake somewhere, and it didn't fall out. Looking in there on the back of the valves, like, I can see some oil and crap. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm gonna spin this thing upside down, clean the mouse shit off of it. There's two pieces of foam. I think I took them off camera. There's a piece of foam front and rear that go on these intakes, and they're pretty useless. I wasn't really going to do it, but I think I'll just pull the coil packs off real quick and then clean everything up so I can paint it to match the 4Runner. Not necessary, but doesn't hurt either. Can't see a lot of this when it goes back together, but I'll reiterate. But I think I'm going to turn it upside down, hit it with the power washer, crank it over a couple times, shoot all the water out of it, and then we'll start it. So I don't know if it showed in the time lapse, but 5 of those cylinders had decent amounts of water in them. So what I find dictates what I do next, right? I guess this engine probably would not have ran had I not done anything to it. But I'm gonna pull the plugs, I'm gonna pull the oil pan or the oil drain. We're gonna see what's in the oil pan, we're gonna see what shoots out of it. I'm gonna crank her over with a breaker bar and we'll go from there. All right, so the oil came out looking fine. Usually if there's a bunch of oil in the pan, the water will settle to the bottom and it'll come out first. So nothing came out but oil. The plugs look good. They are auto lights. Oh my goodness, AC Dogo only. Those are gonna go right back in. The thing spins over freely by the flywheel, flex plate, whatever. The battery is dead, so it's on the charger. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw the thing back together. Intake back on. I know I said I was going to paint it, but apparently I don't have any paint. I don't feel like going to the store, so I'm not going to. Put you guys back on the time lapse. Put the intake back on. All these gaskets are reusable. Just put them back on. Yeah, I'll do that while the battery charges and bring you guys back. So we're back together, no big deal, except for the plug wires, haven't put them on. Don't have the plugs back in. Out of the stock harness, I peeled the pink, purple ignition wire out, and then I just took the whole harness and stripped the purple wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and crank this around a couple of revolutions. This battery's still not fully charged, but it should crank for us. Oh yeah. Yeah, so you can hear that battery's pretty cooked, but we're getting some water out of there? I'm not real sure. I'm gonna let the battery charge up and I'll crank it around some more and then throw some oil in it. There's no oil in it now, so oil, battery, more cranks, and we'll be ready to hook up a fuel system and give her the beans. Out of the main harness to the dash, remember there's one red wire that needs to go to switched. It needs to go to 12 volt and crank and run. And if you're doing a classic swap, a lot of the wires on old cars will drop voltage while they're cranking to give more power to the starter. So make sure that you have a good wire. Here we're just gonna hook to the battery. I got my simple fuel system in a bucket. That's a Chemcell 340 pump. Some Evil Energy hose, factory regulator. That all works pretty straightforward. There we go, we got fuel returning. I have a massive vacuum leak. That's okay. PCM's powered up. Obviously our VATS is deleted and we're good to go here. So hope that helps you guys. That's really it. That's it. Like, I'm gonna shove this thing in the barn. I'm gonna unhook these wires. I'm gonna tidy up the cables. I'm gonna shove it in the barn and ignore it for a while until I'm ready to put it in the 4Runner. But we now know we have a runner and we know we have oil pressure because it leaked out from the oil filter a little bit. But hey, like, runner, 8 cylinders. She's a beaut, Clark. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on The Driveway Engineer.